Howdy everyone, thank y'all for joining me. We've had 4 profiles prepared for us today, so I'm going to get us started right here off the bat with profile number 1. It is the Parker Family Poultry out of Dalhart, Texas. They are a 3rd generation broiler operation. The farm is run by the siblings Ryan and Morgan Parker. They took over the business from their father. The operation consists of 6 broiler houses, each housing 30,000 birds, and they produce multiple flocks a year for a regional integrator. The Parkers pride themselves on maintaining a high level of efficiency and bird health while staying up to date with the latest advancements in poultry management. They have recently transitioned to tunnel ventilated houses and have been exploring ways to improve water efficiency and overall bird performance. The farm employs several full-time workers and relies on automated systems to streamline their operation. So I think right off the bat, when it kind of just going in order here, going on rapport, having the siblings, I have 4 siblings at home, so I think I can relate to having a sibling and having to maybe pass down or share stuff. Like for him, in this instance, they both got passed down an entire operation. For me, I'm probably going to get passed down our family farm up in Leakey, Texas. And so that's kind of just one of those things, being able to pass down heritage and stuff like that is kind of really important to people that are in the agricultural industry.
Something that I agree. Something that I was also thinking about to kind of build up rapport, like you said, is you're talking about how they inherited it from their father. Did their father inherit it from his father? Is this something new in their family that their father just started, or has this been going on long before that? Is something that I would ask.
And part of this is, since they did inherit it, like, do they enjoy this? Like, where did their love for poultry come from? Was it like family?
For sure. So moving into product and kind of some probing questions, I'd really like to ask kind of what's the square footage for the barns, and what are we looking at with their current water system? And once we have those questions answered, it'll be a little easier to figure out kind of what they need and want.
I think it's going to be important to, as you said, so they have 6 houses. The square footage obviously matters on the house, and obviously the length. That's going to come into part of what system that we want to integrate in the budget.
Sure.
So that's kind of just getting into the budget question itself right then and there. What is the budget that's been allocated for this particular project for us to come in and redo this stuff? And like, what do they have currently in place that says they want to stay automated and streamlined?
Mm-hmm.
I think our system kind of meets those boxes. We have the app. We're able to do everything from the phone, and so you're able to check on the health of the birds from the water. And so I think that's going to be a very good selling point when it comes to the automated system point.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And going about what y'all mentioned about budget, based on how it is, are they going to want to do all 6 houses, or are they just going to start with a couple?
Definitely.
Something we could ask.
I agree. Moving some kind of features and benefits, they said they have 30,000 in their flock a year, so they're switching out those flocks. And I would definitely touch on how our system is super easy to flush out between those flocks by just like moving the valve up and getting all the buildup, which there shouldn't be buildup, but just guaranteeing that welfare.
For sure. And piggybacking off of that, I think another great feature and benefit would be our app, and how easy it is to control the system and track and regulate everything that could happen within the system through our app. It's a great new way of technology that's kind of newer in the poultry watering system, and I think that's a great thing to kind of talk about and explore with.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Talking about some other products that they could be interested in, I would definitely talk about the litter guard cups, just to add those in, make sure everything stays nice and dry, no bacteria is getting built up in the moisture.
For sure.
So I definitely bring that up.
It's a great thing for bird health, and it's very efficient in catching the water, and even our nipples are super efficient in knowing when to drip, and the triggering system on them. It's super high tech, and I think that's a great thing to also talk with them about, is just how specialized and high tech our system is.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the nipples, for the system, since they are a broiler operation, I feel like our Feather Soft High Flow would be the best
For sure.
nipple to provide for them.
Completely agree completely.
I agree.
I think another great thing to talk about would be the warranty. Just because they are, a 3rd generation broiler operation, they're long-standing, and to really gain trust and kind of build a relationship with this operation, our warranty is a great thing to talk about.
Yes, totally.
I agree. I think another thing is going to be the resilience of the system itself.
For sure.
And so when you're talking about all this automation and all this technology, the farmers, at the end of the day, it's going to break eventually. So that's when the warranty comes in, but then what if they're like, well, what is after the warranty? You can kind of go to our price breakdowns and kind of just break down what the parts are. Because like our nipples for the most part are about $2, or I think $5 at the most for one nipple. So it's not like we're totally crazy in terms of price when it comes to that. But that could be a possible objection that comes up, and that could be kind of what part of the budget question as well. But I think all in all, the proper kind of product placement here would probably be our Feathersoft High Flow, since
Right.
it is a broiler operation.
For sure.
So that's where I would point this particular customer.
Yeah. So are we all in agreement? The Feathersoft High Flow, Litter Guard cups, talk about the app, all the things?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's move on to profile 2.
Profile 2. West Texas Egg Company is a commercial layer facility located near Lubbock, owned by longtime industry professional Mark Simmons. The operation houses 450,000 laying hens and multiple high-rise layer houses, supplying eggs to grocery stores and food service providers across Texas. With a strong emphasis on biosecurity and production efficiency, the farm has gradually implemented automation to improve labor efficiency and reduce stress on the birds. Mark works alongside with his 2 sons, who manage daily operations and equipment maintenance. As an operation that must maintain strict water quality and availability for peak egg production, the company continuously evaluates new technology to ensure consistent performance in their facilities.
Okay, so moving into rapport, as my family and I have a farm up in Lubbock, I'm super versed in kind of all the restaurants, all the fun things to do up there. And I think a great thing to ask would be, who do they sell to? And maybe have I eaten there before? That'd be a great thing to kind of know and talk about.
I think that's a really good point. I would also talk about, they said they've been doing this for a really long time. I would talk about what keeps them going and doing this. Where does that passion come from that they have to be doing this for such a long time? Because I feel like sometimes doing the same thing for an extended period of time can get kind of boring. So I would definitely touch on what keeps them going.
One thing I like to highlight is they're talking about water quality itself to keep the certain, acidics or pHs within certain ranges for the egg production itself. And so I think being able to integrate our app with that and then being able to see it on their phone from pretty much anywhere in the world they have Wi-Fi connection, it's going to be very important to this customer. So they're able to monitor and regulate whatever water the chickens are getting. And I think another point is the ability to be able to flush out the system and clean it as well. So obviously we have backflows, we have backflow checkers on the regulators themselves, but they also allow for backflow if you allow it. And it allows you to clean the system pretty easily. And so I think that could be a huge selling point when you're talking to a customer that's very worried about water quality in its entirety.
And I think another thing that whole process points out is how labor efficient our system is. This customer is very, interested in labor efficiency and reducing stress. So I think how easy it is to flush out our systems, how easy it is to track our systems and maintain water quality would be a great thing to add in and a great feature and benefit.
A question I would have for them is what does their setup kind of look like? Because they do have an extremely high amount of layers here. So I would definitely ask how that high-rise layer house looks and what their current water system is looking like.
Yeah, and maybe how do we get the water there and kind of whether they want to go in with all of their houses or kind of hold off a little bit and integrate our nipples specifically into their current water system. That'd be a great question to ask.
Mm-hmm. And since they have such a large operation, I think another main thing, we need to figure out the budget that they have, if it's going to be high or low, based on how many birds they have.
Agreed. Going into product, I would definitely recommend our Feathersoft Combi Regular Flow. That's our layer nipple, and I think that's the perfect nipple for them. And I think another thing that'll kind of help with this sale is our complementary product, the Litter Guard cups. They're super great for biosecurity. They catch all the water, which could grow bacteria, which is, just a great benefit of the product.
Another benefit I would talk about is they said they want to have a really high efficiency with their watering. So I would talk about our services, our free services that we bring out. If something breaks, we'll have someone out to you in 1 to 2 days, because you don't want to wait around with that many birds and having a broken nipple so then it gets overcrowded, and it'll just be very efficient and fast to fix that.
You know, I think also to put a label on that, like our warranty,
Mhm.
really speaking about our warranty will be a huge benefit in this sale.
But I think we're all kind of in accordance here for the soft combine with the nipple.
For sure, yeah. Let's move on to profile 3.
Moving on to profile 3, High Plains Heritage Farms is a pasture-raised poultry operation located in Hereford, Texas, specializing in organic free-range broiler laying production. They're owned by Sarah and Ben Martinez. The family supplies fresh poultry eggs to local farmers markets, specialty grocery stores, and restaurants in Amarillo and Lubbock areas. Their operation includes mobile broiler houses, each holding 3,000 birds, along with a separate pasture-based laying flock of 5,000 hens. Sarah and Ben built a reputation for high-quality, substantially raised poultry and are consistently searching for improvements to their watering systems that can meet the needs of their birds raised in open air and rotating pasture setups. Okay, so starting off here, I would talk to them about what it's like to have both broilers and your hens. That's kind of a mix-up of your different types of poultry. I would also talk to them about, they said it was just them two. Is anyone else helping here? Do they have an employee or someone that comes out to help them a little bit, or is it just simply them two running the whole operation?
For sure, completely agree.
I think kind of just going off, as we talked about a little bit earlier before we met today, the mobile houses were a little different. Kind of the first time we've seen one of these.
Mhm.
So I think the approach is going to be a little bit different. You know, you're not going to be as knowledgeable possibly on the system itself.
For sure.
So definitely some more probing questions when it comes just to the houses themselves, like how big are they, how mobile are they? Because our system, however, it can be attached to the ceiling and can be moved. The actual physical water lines and pipes like that cannot.
Right.
So I think it needs to be kind of clear to the customer that if you install our system, there has to be a water disconnect in order to separate it from the actual housing itself. That
For
way
sure.
it can be moved with the house.
And I think a great question with that would be like, what does it look like with the amount of birds per house? And kind of, do we have majority broiler houses or do we have a lot of layer houses? And what does that kind of look like with the transition between the two? Because I know they're supposed to be mobile, but you know, we really want to set the fact that if we put a type of nipple in the house, it's easier to keep that house with that certain type of bird. We can obviously take the nipples out and switch them within systems, which will be a great thing to add, but it's a lot easier to keep a house per the type of bird that it's housing.
That's a good point. And I was talking to them about, they said they are an organic company and they're also pasture raised, which when you have pasture raised, that's a little bit harder to monitor everything because, you know, there's definitely some bacteria that's going to be in the pasture and you're wanting to maintain the welfare and the health of their poultry. So that's where I would talk about the flushing system. You can flush everything out and make sure that they're getting that pure water and nothing else that's going to be in it. And I'd also talk about what there is right now, if it's a bucket, a hose, and how they're monitoring it.
For sure, I think the flushing will be a great benefit feature of the product, just that it really kind of meets biosecurity and ensures health and water quality for the birds.
Another question I would probably ask is, since they are a smaller operation, they mentioned it was just the two that were running it, but do they have help there with these birds? And like, we could mention
For sure.
how our system is easily, with our app and like the way we can raise it and stuff, is very easily
Labor efficient.
labor efficient.
Right,
Yes.
for sure.
Kind of kicking back on the welfare of them, they said that they're really local. They are in restaurants, grocery stores, so it's really important for them to keep that good name for themselves going and not have any issues. So when people see them in their stores or grocery stores, they know that they're getting a high quality product. So that's where we would also, you know,
Right.
talk
Yeah,
about.
piggybacking off what you just said, in the profile it says they have built a high quality, a high reputation, and so I think that's very important. You don't want to change anything about the eggs or anything like that. So I think being able to supply the same water and kind of same system is going to be kind of beneficial.
For sure.
They may not want to take a huge jump anyways, because that may change what the chickens may taste like or something like that.
So product-wise, I think the products that I would recommend are either the Feathersoft High Flow for the broilers or the Feathersoft Combi Regular Flow for the pullets and the layers. They're both are nipples for each of the type of birds. So I think, you know, with that question I said earlier, like what does the house to bird ratio and what does the type of bird to house ratio look like? Knowing that, we can say which one we would prefer for each house and, you know, what that kind of looks like, which I think would also have to depend on the budget, just as one of our nipples is a little bit on the higher priced side than the other.
But you're saying we should recommend that our Feathersoft Combi and the Feathersoft High Flow
Yes.
in regards to the two different types of
Yes, for
birds.
sure.
Okay. So with that, just kind of blanket statement here, we're going to go with the Feathersoft Combi and then the Feathersoft High Flow in terms of nipples just across
I
the
agree.
board for both birds.
Sounds good. Let's go to customer profile 4, which is Red River Game Birds. They are a specialty poultry farm focusing on pheasants and quails for hunting preserves and conservation products. Owned by former wildlife biologist Jacob Reynolds, the farm produces 15,000 game birds annually in a combination of flight pens and enclosed brooder facilities. Water quality and accessibility are critical for the farm's birds, especially during the brooding and growth phases. Jacob has expanded his farm over the last 5 years, working with private landowners, hunting clubs, and state agencies to supply birds for habitat restoration and controlled release hunting programs. With a deep understanding of avian health and biosecurity, he is always looking for ways to improve bird performance and reducing disease risks through better management practices. So I think going into this with rapport, I love hunting. Me and my family, we annually go hunting. I mean, during the season, we're probably out there every weekend. And it's one of my favorite hobbies that I have. So I think I would really like to talk with him about that. You know, what got him into like conservation and maybe even just like wildlife biology. And what does that look like for him?
To go off of that, I definitely agree. I'd also talk to them about how they got involved because, you know, most of the time people get involved in poultry in maybe high school or after that, but there's not really anything you can do in high school for hunting or games. So I definitely talk about that.
Sure.
I'm just kind of take it out of the air. We're not really too traverse in the field of game birds and stuff like that. So I think it's going to take a lot of research on our part from now to when we meet the customer themselves.
For sure.
Definitely.
Kind of just educating ourselves on what kind of water system or management that these kind of animals require. I myself am not familiar with quail and pheasant. I mean, obviously I've shot them and eaten them.
For sure.
But I've never raised them. So it's going to be a little bit, it's kind of the oddball, obviously, out of the group. So I think it's going to be very important. Just kind of address and kind of just open up and be like, there's going to be a lot of probing questions with this
For
one.
sure.
So many, I don't think I can even really name some of them. But I think starting off really easy, kind of just budget
Right.
what kind of money is being allocated to this particular project. And what is he looking to see out of us? Like, does he want these birds to get plump with water, or what is the end goal?
Right. I think another probing question would be, what do these houses look like? So, like flight pens, kind of where does the water source come from? What does that look like? As well as like the brooder facilities. Just because, you know, we know chicken houses, but we don't quite know pheasant and quail houses.
I have a really big probing question with the flight ones. Is do you put the water up high?
Right.
Or do you put them down low? Because, I mean, yes, they can fly, but what if you have one that gets injured and can't fly anymore?
Sure.
Are they going to die of just dehydration? So that's kind of like just a probing question kind of going through my head that I would ask, just right, like, where do we, like, I don't even know, like, where do we put the water up high, middle, low? Because we're able to move it up and down. So that kind of is something I would ask.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, I think the feature that our product can move up and down is a great thing to add in, and I think that'll be, you know, a really effective thing in our sale.
I think also another feature and benefit we could talk about is, I mean, when you're going hunting and you're shooting birds and all this stuff, you're typically looking for the one that's gonna, you know, yield the most meat, the biggest one. You want the best looking bird for that you're hunting. So I would definitely talk about how you can integrate and you can add in with the app. You can put in supplements and different things that kind of help sustain the welfare of your birds.
Going back to the probing questions, I'm not too familiar with like y'all the pheasants and quail. I've never been a huge game hunter. I'm more of like a fishing person. But what kind of like, is it more like a duck or a dove? Like how will that affect the nipple that we choose?
Yeah, so nipple-wise, I personally think, just going based off of my knowledge about pheasants and quail, I think the broiler nipple would be the easiest to recommend, just as it's our highest flowing velocity. Pheasants and quail, they drink a lot of water. So I think just our broiler nipple would be easy and efficient for these types of birds.
I'm just gonna be honest, I don't even have the knowledge to either oppose or agree with you on that because I'm not familiar with this at all. So I think independent research is gonna be a huge part in this
Right.
particular profile. And so with that being said, you wanted to kind of push for our broiler nipple, and which other one did you say? I'm sorry.
Our broiler nipple, and in the brooder facilities, maybe we even recommend our pullet and layer nipple, as they are, our reproductive nipples.
Okay, perfect.
I agree.
So obviously we would attach some litter guard cups on that, so that would keep any drippage off the bedding at all.
Easy for sure.
And so that would be a huge, nice sale. And then we can talk about our warranty, obviously our 10-year prorated warranty that we offer. That's for everything across the board. The first 3 years, it's nothing to the customer.
Exactly.
That 3 to 5 years is 25% to the customer that they are have to pay, and then so on and so forth. But I think kind of just going off and obtaining our own knowledge is going to be kind of the most main thing on this one.
Agreed, for sure. And like while we're here, I think a great thing to mention is how easy and biosecure our system is. Just with the flushing through, with the regulating it on the app, it's super safe, and we always try to maintain water health and safety. So I think that's a great thing to add in, just to kind of smooth this sale forward, just because it's so different from what we normally do.
All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for meeting today. I had a great conversation, so I think we cleared up some stuff, maybe some questions that we may have had on this stuff. So I think we're just going to kind of get ready to push it to our bosses over here. So
For
let's
sure.
do that.
Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have four profiles that we're going to present to you all, starting with Ellie over here on my left.
Okay, so the Parker Family Poultry is located in Dalhart, Texas. They're a third generator broiler operation. First, what I would do to build a report is ask the operation was passed down through their family over multiple generations, and right now the siblings are running it. So how they enjoy that and where the love of poultry got started in their family. Their operation is 30,000 birds for 6 houses. So first, for a probing question, I'd ask how big their houses are and the budget on if they're going to want to insert our system into all these houses, or if they already have an existing system in their houses. One of our features of our systems that we offer is our litter guard cups, which would be great for their for efficiency and health, what they mentioned, and also the ability to easily flush out our systems. Sorry. Another thing that we could also mention is our app, which makes it really easily accessible for our system, which I think could be a really great benefit for this family and this farm. The nipple that I would offer for them would be our Feather Soft High Flow. It's our nipple for our broilers, specialized for them, which I think would work really great for that.
Hi, I'm also Ellie. I'm going to be reading for Profile 2. So Profile 2, here we have Mark Simmons. He's a big big into hen production. Some report that I'll talk to him about first is he's been doing this for a pretty long time. I'd ask him how he does it so long, why, and what keeps him going. A probing question I definitely talk about is what does it look like? I haven't seen personally high-rise layer houses, so I would definitely ask what it looks like and what they currently have for their system. And then moving on to needs and wants, I talk about the budget, what kind of budget we're looking like here, which could also be an objection, but I think we could get past the objection with talking about how this is the top of the line and the quality that they're also getting. He also discussed the importance of biosecurity to him. So that's where I would talk about the litter guard cups and how they catch all of the spillage and the water. A feature and benefit as well that I'll talk about is how he said that he has integrated his current watering system in, so we could definitely touch on integrating the nipples into his system to lower that price also. And a complimentary thing that I'd throw in is definitely some more litter guard cups, because he did talk about how really important biosecurity is to him.
So Profile 3 is High Plains Heritage Farms in Hereford, Texas. They are broiler and layer production, and they have mobile broiler houses with around 3,000 birds in each house. So some probing questions I would ask is, what does the water system look like? Kind of how is it integrated in their barns? And what does it look like with how the houses can move around mobily? As well as kind of what birds are we looking to start with, and what's the type of bird to house ratio? What are we looking like with that? Another probing question would be the budget and what kind of that looks like, because that can help us further along what product we would do. A feature and benefit of our product is the fact that we can flush through the systems. Our complimentary litter guard cups is another benefit because it catches water, further decreasing the levels of bacteria in the ground if water drips. A complimentary product I would offer on top of the product that I would recommend, so I'd recommend the FeatherSoft High Flow or the FeatherSoft Combi, depending on what bird we're trying to do. But the complimentary product I would offer is kind of our free services. I'm talking about our warranty and how long that stands, and further stating that the litter guard cups are complimentary when you buy our product in a kit. Some needs and wants are sustainable and safe watering facilities. So, maintaining biosecurity and maintaining bird health. And some objections could be like how big the system is and kind of wrapping the brain around all of the technology we use and all the things that could be, as well as budget.
Customer 4 is Jacob Reynolds from Wichita Falls, Texas. He is a biology person. He raises 15,000 pheasants and quail. They are typically housed in flight cages or flight houses. One of my rapport building would be kind of putting him in touch with my dad's best friend, who's actually a game warden. So you can kind of fill out the conservation efforts that are going on here in the state of Texas. And so that would be kind of beneficial for the state and as well as for his business as well. So another thing we kind of talked about is just our pure lack of knowledge on the just for these particular birds themselves. They aren't really our typical run-of-the-mill what we see every day, and so independent research is going to be required for this particular customer. So I think that's very important to kind of just express before we kind of go into the sale room itself. Some probing questions, however, we could do is like kind of what is the budget he has kind of set aside or that he's willing to spend on these birds. I would assume it's pretty high given they're game birds, so the ROI on them is a lot higher than your typical meat bird. So we would kind of talk about, kind of point them in the direction, kind of just based off the knowledge that we discussed at the table, our high flow nipple, which is meant for our broilers, which are kind of larger birds. So it really just depends on the size of these birds and what they're going to be doing. Another thing we had mentioned at the table was the ability to adjust the height of the actual watering system itself, being able to go up and down. So that's very important for birds that are able to take flight. They're able to get water on almost any level of the actual infrastructure that's in place for them. And another thing we talked about was the 10-year prorated warranty. As with birds flying around, stuff is probably going to get broken, knocked off, something is going to happen. So having that 10-year prorated warranty is going to be very beneficial for this particular customer. And that was going to be Mr. Jacob Reynolds from Wichita Falls. Thank you all for listening to our presentation and our entire sales call over here. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.